So in A it says, write the ratio 1 2/3 is to 2 2/3 in its simplest form. So 1 2/3 is to 2 2/3. Now, what you should note is that these two fractions are improper fractions. So we're first going to write them as proper fractions. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So 5/3. Then 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So this is 8/3. Now, the denominators are the same, so the simplest ratio will be the ratio of the numerators. In other words, 5:8. Let's look at B. It says a recipe needs 3/4 cups of sugar, 1½ cups of flour, and 1/3 cup of milk. Write the ratio of the ingredients in its simplest form. So 3/4 is to 1½ is to 1/3. We're going to write 1½ as a proper fraction. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, so it's 3/2. In this case, the denominators are not the same, so we want to make them the same. We find the LCD of 4, 2, and 3, and of course that is 12. So we're going to write each fraction as over 12. Four into 12, thrice, times the numerator, in other words times 3, is 9. 2 into 12, 6 times 3 is 18. And 3 into 12, 4 times 1 is 4. Now the denominators are the same, so the simplest ratio will be the ratio of the numerators. So 9 is to 18 is to 4. It's important to check at this point whether there's a number that can go into all three of these. And of course there isn't such a number, so this will be the simplest ratio. So in A here, it says divide 30 in the ratio 2:3. What we do is we add 2 and 3, which of course gives us 5. Then we take 2/5 multiplied by 30. So 5 into 30, 6 times. And then, of course, 2 times 6 is 12. Now we take 3/5, so 3 over the total, and multiply 30 by it. And of course, 5 into 30, 6 times. And in 3 times 6 is 18. So now we have divided 30 in the ratio 2:3. So the answers are 12 and 18. Then in B, it says increase the number 15 in the ratio 3:4. We have to increase 15. So what we do here is we take the bigger number of the two, in other words 4, over the smaller number. So whenever we have to increase a number in a certain ratio, we take the bigger number in the ratio divided by the smaller one, and then we multiply this by whatever number we have to increase, in this case 15. So 3 into 15, 5 times, and then times 4 will be 20. So now we have increased 15 in the ratio 3:4. In C, it says decrease the number 40 in the ratio 2:5. When we have to decrease a number, we take the smaller number in the ratio over the bigger one. So in this case, 2/5. And we multiply it by the number that we have to decrease. So then, in this case, it's 40. So 5 into 40, 8 times. And then 2 times 8 is 16. So we have decreased the number 40 in the ratio 2:5. And the answer is 16. Indeed says there are 120 learners in grade 8 at Greenview High School. If the ratio of girls to boys is 3:5, how many boys are there in grade 8? So we know that the ratio of girls to boys is 3:5. And we want to know how many boys there are. And the total number of learners is 120. Now, to get the number of girls, we can actually work out both the number of girls and boys. To get the number of girls, we take 3/8. 3 plus 5 is 8. So 3/8. Note that girls is written first in this ratio. So girls correspond to 3 here, and boys to 5. So 3 over the sum of 3 and 5, in other words 3/8, times the total number of learners. This we can work out on a calculator. Just getting my calculator going. So basically 3/8 multiplied by 120. Let's try again. 3/8 and it comes to 45. So there are 45 girls. Then the number of boys, we can of course take 45 and subtract it from 120. Or we can take 5/8. So 5/8 times 120. And we see that it comes to 75. So basically the answer is that there are 75 boys. So this is an example of typical questions asked on rates. In A it says, a large truck uses 16.5 liters of diesel per 100 kilometers. Calculate how much diesel the truck will need to travel 1,284 kilometers. So we need to work out the amount of diesel that the truck will need to travel 1,284 kilometers. Now, what we can do is we can find the amount of diesel needed per kilometer. So let's do that. So amount of diesel needed for 1 kilometer. Now, we know that we need 16.5 liters for 100 kilometers. So to get the amount of diesel needed for 1 kilometer or per kilometer, we simply take 16.5 or 16,5 liters divided by 100 kilometers. So let's see what that comes to. 16.5 divided by 100, and that is 0,165. So 0,165 liters per kilometer. We want to know how much diesel is needed for 1,284 kilometers. And we know the amount of liters needed for 1 kilometer. So we simply multiply 1284 here by 0,165. So amount of diesel needed for, we said, 1284 kilometers. So this will equal the amount needed for 1 kilometer multiplied by the number of kilometers. So 0,165 multiplied by 1284. And we see that this comes to 211,86. And it's the amount of diesel, so liters. So B here is very important. I've seen it in many different papers. It says a certain distance is covered in 3 hours at an average speed of 120 kilometers per hour. How long will it take to cover the same distance at an average speed of 90 kilometers per hour? So we don't know what distance is covered, but we know that it's covered in 3 hours at an average speed of 120 kilometers per hour. So from this information, we can find the distance covered because we have the time. The time is 3 hours, and we also have the speed. The speed is 120 kilometers per hour. So, as I said, we can find the distance covered. So, we can use the formula distance is speed times time. And the speed is 120 kilometers per hour. The time is 3 hours. So that's 360 kilometers. Now they want to know how long would it take to cover the same distance, in other words 360 kilometers, at an average speed of 90 kilometers per hour. So we need to find the time in the second part of the question. So here we can use the equation time is distance over speed. And of course we do have the distance, it's 360 kilometers. We are told that the speed is 90 kilometers per hour. So 360 divided by 90. And this comes to 4. So then the time is 4 hours.